Nick.
I'm Sasha.
And this has been the Chaos Twins.
Yo,
hi Sasha.
What's good?
I mean, so much. So much, Sasha.
Listen. So much is good about what's about to happen, right?
No, it's great. But and go ahead. Go, please go.
And we, just so you know, we are fighting for this space today. Like, let me just say,
the space is being fought for inch by inch, mile by mile.
As we speak.
As in this moment, for those of you who were hanging on, waiting, when's Chaos Twins going to start? It's starting now. We're starting right now. From now, going forward, we're here. We're happy to be here. We're happy you're here. You know, it's an amazing time. Welcome to the Chaos Twins.
The time to be alive. This is the Black Lady Magic Show. Okay, this is the Black Lady Magic Show, and I feel some kind of way that it feels like Wi-Fi has conspired to not let us be great, but we are pushing through for Women's History Month. I'm so excited about the guests that we have. We're gonna speed through some stuff, some take care of business stuff for you and I, and then we're gonna get to this panel. But first, let's do what we do every week and secure our perimeter. We must
secure the
perimeter.
Secure the perimeter. I'm so bothered by our intros.
They're aggressive.
Do you not feel assaulted when these things come on the screen?
Yes, but that's what I was going for.
You wanted that. That was
an all-out assault on the senses.
Like, you want it to feel a little hurt, because I feel a little hurt. I feel like.
Are you hurt? What are you hurt by? Tell me about your perimeter. What's going on?
You know, I'll say, okay. We've had several discussions about my perimeter this week. My perimeter is I had to secure it a lot, and I'll get to this quickly because we got so much to talk about, so much to do today. Us as artists, man. This game is real. This game is real, and the very nature of what we do is we make ourselves our most vulnerable, and you take your heart and you put it out there, and assume that it will not be taken in, right? Like that is the assumption. That is what they pay us to do, right? And so it was definitely a week where I had to secure for my perimeter. I will say though, the way I secured my perimeter, this is kind of more of a shout out, less of anything that I did. I had a student that I teach at NYU who, I'm not going to say their name, is a very shy, timid student. I had them do their midterm monologues today, Shakespeare monologue, and the way that they came out of their shell today was such an uplift. This young woman really took up some space. And I'm not even gonna lie, I sat there crying, just like watching her work. It was just so beautiful. And again, not a perimeter securement, but surely something that made me feel like, you know what, it is worth it to protect that heart, because that heart can do things like that. So I really love that. How did you secure your perimeter? How was that?
Listen, you know, I feel like we ask this every week, and every week I come to this moment and I say, I don't know that it's secure, Nick. I don't know.
Fair.
I really don't know. But what have I done, you know, for myself today is I made some delicious tea that is very good for me. And I had a little meditation time, and that just keeps me mentally in a better place. I shall say, in a more content place, a grounded place. It's been a lot going on, a lot to process, I think. And I just, trying to find some moments of silence, truly. Like, that's really the thing, because I think as we get back to things, as some things pick up and some things don't, and we're always in such a hurry to get back to normal or get back to work or get back to, you know, busy. And it's slowing me down. And you were definitely a part of that this week, honestly. I tried to brush over some feelings yesterday, and Nick was like, I'm going to put this stop sign here. And I was a little angry about it. But I took a minute with it. So I was very grateful for that.
It's important. It's important to let these feelings happen. I think that it sometimes is so we want to get to the other side of it. We want to be at that moment, but the living in not the pain, but just the discomfort. And that's something we talk about all the time, right? That is a way of securing your perimeter. Could be, right? How do you step into the unknown and just live there for a second? Hard. I don't know how to do it, but I love that. I'm so happy that you did that, my friend. Very cool.
Oh,
Very cool.
I know another thing I did, is I let somebody poke me with needles. I got acupuncture, which I feel like was that I hadn't done in a long time. Like to the point that a friend asked me about acupuncture because they were interested in possibly, doing that. And I said, I forgot that existed. Like just with the pandemic, I completely forgot that was a thing that people do. So that was nice. So we're doing all right. We're surviving.
We're surviving.
We can ask for anything more. Should we move on to a little tag 'em action?
Yeah, and we have a run the graphic, but we have a specific tag 'em today. Tag 'em, someone who is doing the work, activism, community service, arts in action, and or otherwise, who is making their corner of the world a better place. Tag 'em. We want to tag somebody.
Yeah.
So today's tag 'em is a little bit it's not sad, but it's something, we want to tag our brothers, our sisters, our people in the AAPI community right now, who have been going through a lot. And I think similar to a lot of things we talk about on this channel, on this show, have been going through a lot and not being heard while they're going through it, have been going through a lot for more years than has been commercially viable. More years than has been reported on, and have been raising their hands for all those years. And now just because, people died, it has become acceptable to talk about it. Well, we should have been talking about it since the beginning. We send so much love out to all the victims. And, again, wasn't the only shooting. Wasn't the only, of course, because we're here.
Right.
There were another shooting on Monday in Colorado. So, everyone who has lost a loved one, and everyone who is just going through it right now, we hear you. And I know that is a phrase that gets bandied around a lot, but when I say it, when Sasha say it, it means we're with you. And that's a difference. So I feel like we have some resources we wanted to throw in there.
I want to see if we can drop. So basically, we operate from like our sort of African-American artistic perspective. We both recognize ourselves as, two sort of cis individuals, straight. And so there's all these different, all these other communities. And for me, the past couple of weeks, really with all of this, and for a while has been just trying to like shut up and listen. Like I said, that silence, that space. One of the places where I found some resource and just a way to like understand, as we're talking about history and moving from Black History Month to Women's History Month is an NPR podcast called It's Been a Minute. They have an amazing episode on anti-Asian racism and the history of it in the United States. I found a lot of things fascinating because honestly, just like every history that we don't really want to face in this country, that is definitely one. And they're just, I think, understanding the how and the why you get to where you are, because I think people have been trying to make the turn between how were the events in Georgia racist. This shooter wasn't explicitly saying I hate Asians. He blamed it on and just how like anti-racism, sexism, all of these things layer on top of each other to create make a place for people whose lives may not be counted as valuable as others, or communities that are vulnerable. So I just found the history really interesting. We dropped it in the chat. Please take a listen. And also tweet at us, share at us things that you found or activists that you found, because we do want to keep putting resources and sort of amplifying the work that people are doing in their community on the ground. So if you found things, you can always like share it with us as well. Mm-hmm. Love that. And just sending a lot of peace. And I would say as an African-American woman on this side of, a struggle, it is an honor and a privilege to stand with other communities and just extending so much love out.
Mm-hmm. 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 All we can do is send love and be there. But
I think we might have our second tag-em, I'm looking for an okay or a nah, girl, from our producer.
I think you mean Beyonce Britt, our producer Beyonce Britt.
I'm looking for a go-ahead from Beyonce to bring on.
I want to be clear.
We got it.
So you're saying that Beyonce is producing the Beyonce is producing the show right now, and it's giving you the cool.
You hadn't heard?
I didn't know. I was not aware.
Major. It's a
big thing. It's a big thing. Cool.
Let's bring on who will be our sort of second kind of tag-em. She's doing good work in the community. She's doing good work in Uptown New York, Uptown Manhattan. Miss Tanya Birl.
Welcome. My name is Tanya Birl Torres, and I will be guiding you through these series of inspirational videos. These videos are an invitation for us to pause, to be still, and to listen deeply to where are we drawing our inspiration or our breath from. As artists and agents of change in this world, our art has the ability to speak in a way which transcends the division of our times, while still piercing through the truth of what is necessary to call to action. My hope is that this series will speak to that still small voice within you and inspire you to boldly take up space and to create from that very same place.
Welcome. Hi, Tanya.
Oh, we're here.
When I said we were fighting for it, Tanya has really fought to be in this.
There are
today.
some supernatural situations trying to keep us out of this conversation.
Yeah,
right?
But she's here.
But she's here.
I'm here
now,
with the
Tanya.
OG. Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait to share. I originally met you, came into contact with you through a little show that ties a couple of us together on who will be on this panel, Memphis. You have been a Broadway performer, actress, you are a choreographer, you are a producer, you are creative, you do all the things. And I said, we want to feature your work. And I love this conversation we had literally earlier today via voice memos where Tanya was like, I don't want to describe what I do. I don't feel like pitching what I do today. And I just really, it took me, I was like, yeah, we describe ourselves like how we do. What do you do? What have you produced? What have you accomplished? And I know that you do teach yoga. You do lead meditation. You do facilitate workshops that build community. But I kind of would love to hear just from you on a regular day, on a little day, if somebody was to catch you, what are some things they might experience with you?
Okay. First of all, thank you both for having me. If you can hear in the background, you will hear my kids. You probably just heard a scream. So what I'm doing most days is being a mother to 2 young Black girls. So I've got 2 young babies that in the midst of a pandemic, I'm around all the time. And that is my most revolutionary work. So I feel like that's what I do most days. And then on the other side of that, I'm trying to get free. I'm trying to be a black body in America. I'm trying to get free. So that's what I'm doing on the regular. But it looks like a lot of kids and a lot of chaos. Like I get the chaos.
Well, you have a quote that when the Black body heals, we all heal. And I love that you say, I'm trying to get free. And I think overall, the ways in which you have sought to do that, and I would say allowed other people to follow you. And this is a little bit, we're already in, because I feel like the way we're starting to talk about things is a little different, but this is Black lady space. This is Black lady magic. This is how we talk. Because you have, the first thing you're trying to do is exist, right? And then you find different ways to do that.
Yes.
Now you have allowed and facilitated for others to do that through spaces like yoga and meditation. And can you say a little bit about, again, if I was to tune into a virtual class that you lead, and what are the priorities in that space? Like, again, what are people going to be participating in?
Yeah. So one of the most important things I do in my work, it sounds big, but is to dismantle white body supremacy, So that's white body supremacy in my Black body, in the white bodies that might show up in the space, but it's about basically decolonizing our bodies. And the way that I do that through movement looks like a lot of different things. It can be through yoga, but a lot of the times it's through like humming. It's through, I mean, Sasha's done this work with me, like embodied practice where you just have to put your body in a shape of what you're experiencing, and the power of not having to use words, but letting your body be what is expressing, and having someone witness a Black female body just be is, it's more powerful. Like you don't need much to get, when you get a bunch of Black women together who are healing together, you just create the space and the healing occurs. So it's about kind of holding the space. And I always say that my gift is to have the capacity to hold people in their healing. And the way that I do it is I show them how I'm healing, which is I show up very real, like with what's going on in my day. Like, it was impossible to get on this call. My kids are running around behind the screen here. Like, I just show up real and we start from there. Yeah. So
beautiful. Yes. And like, I've been in space with you, and it really is, it's very healing. And I love the idea that, you know, we're talking a lot. There's a lot of buzzwords about amplification and space and take up space and create space for everybody. And I just feel like when you put it in that way of what happens, and that's what we're creating today, is what happens when you just put people in a room who are healing and they're doing it together, and then you just allow that process to lead rather than, we're going to get into it. So, I thank you for sharing. If people want to find your work, if they want to take class with you, if they want to be in that space, if they want to figure out more about it, I think we're rolling it on the bottom right now. Visit sohumanity.com to find everywhere that Tanya is and every kind of service. You work with groups, you work with businesses, you work with individuals, you work with everyone. So just whatever the need is, honestly, like, you know, you're looking for a Black owned business, it's literally here. This is the business. And I think it's just spending some time with the words on your website and the resources there. It's worth a gander. So everybody head there after our show. But for now, we're going to all take a piece, and Nick is actually going to leave us for a second.
I'm out.
Nick is going to talk about clearing the space. Nick is going to...
He's out.
Gone. Nick is going to join us later at the very end, but we're going to make some room for a lot of lovely humans to step into Chaos Twins today. So we're going to roll that intro tape. Here we go. It's the Black Lady panel. Turn your channel. I am so excited to have all of you here today. We have just spoken with Miss Tanya Birl, and I'm just going to go in the order of my screen. I want to tell everyone, I'm not really going to interview anyone today. I just would love for people to share. You've sort of been invited into what is a soiree. So I'm going to lay down some ideas and maybe expectations and things that we might have. But first, I'd love to I'll go around and intro everyone. And you can literally tell me what you do, what your job is, where you go to school, or you can tell me what you have for breakfast this morning, and that will be fine. So let's go to Jordan Davis. Hello.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Sika and I. So my name's Jordan. I'm a junior at Indiana University. So I think Sika and I are the least experienced here. We're so grateful to be here, and we're studying business, but it's a day-by-day thing. I feel like we're just trying to make it through. We go to a primarily white institution, and so just taking up space, Tanya, what you were talking about just means so much to us. And we decided after this summer, after everyone decided that Black people exist, that we wanted to make a podcast taking up space as Black women. And so we have a podcast called You Are Too Loud, where we just get really loud. There's no such thing as being too dramatic, too extra, too loud, too nothing on the podcast. Sasha, we've been honored to have her there. So that's what I think I want to start with.
I love that. I love that. Yes, Sika, if you would say hello as well. These are the ladies of the You're Too Loud podcast. It is very loud and very fun.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I feel like Jordan really covered it. I am so glad that we even have the space to just talk and celebrate Black women, because that's our favorite thing to do, just love on and empower Black women. So I'll just leave it at that. And what I had for breakfast today, I had a little bagel. It was a cute little moment. So.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'd love to introduce Reverend Liz Walker. Reverend Liz, thank you for joining us. Some of you might recognize her from a couple weeks ago. She was sharing about COVID testing and COVID vaccines. Thank you so much for coming again.
I am honored to be with this beautiful group of women with all this creativity and energy. And just to sit and listen is wonderful. I represent many generations ago. I'm still here, but it's an interesting point in history to see this reckoning as opposed to the many other pieces of reckoning that have gone on in the history of this country and the lives of Black people. I'm working on healing now. We have a program called the Cory Johnson Program for Post-Traumatic Healing, which was started in our community here in Boston. And I want to shout out, we just had the announcement and the fanfare for our first Black woman mayor of the city of Boston, which is huge in the history of the city. Kim Janey was the mayor. Anyway, we started a program based on violence in our community and trying to heal people who were survivors of violence. And come to find out that violence is connected to racism, which is connected to historical and systemic trauma in our world. And so we're working very much on that. And now with COVID, of course, we have a whole globe that's in pain. And so that's my heart and that's my passion. And I was so absolutely glad to hear Tanya talk about healing, because we all have to figure out how to expand that. So I'm delighted to be with you guys today.
Beautiful. You have a fan who saw you on MSNBC, said that you're great to watch on MSNBC. And then last but certainly not least, Miss Dionne Figgins. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Chaos Twins. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be on this panel with these beautiful women. My name's Dionne. Like Sasha said, I am a performance artist out of New York City. I run a vintage store, which I'm in right now, which I'm always in the vintage store in Hell's Kitchen. And yeah, I like Tanya was saying, I'm also on this healing journey as well. I teach young students. I have 2 classes that I teach of teenagers and preteens. And so I'm doing a lot of work with them on empowering them and healing some of their, childhood traumas through the arts and through dance. And so, I'm really passionate about that work. I love to teach. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Fantastic. Thank you, ladies, all so much for just agreeing to be here. And I'm not going to waste a lot of time. I just want to frame the conversation, how we're going to go about it. So talking about women's history, I want to sort of be able to bring, we're not going to talk about what we all do and like I'm not going to interview you about your jobs. Like, we're going to have you all back to talk about all the work you're doing, because it's just the healing that I guess is happening and that you all are facilitating is insane already. So this is about who we are and who we are when we are together today. These Black women, we're allowing everyone the privilege of being a fly on the wall, a black fly on the wall of this Black Lady Magic Chaos session. I kind of want to think about the practice of Black women living together, how we live together, our mothers, our daughters, our cousins, our sisters, how we live together. And I think about us challenging structures that throughout history, that's the way that we've been. So if we think about women's history, we think about Black women's history. And to me, that's like challenging, like what you can make, how far a dollar can go. I think about my grandmother's ability to challenge a spatula, to create an entire other piece of like cornbread or like an entire other slice of cake from the bowl by just like scooping the rest of that, out. Just like, there's no more left. Oh, wow. There's a whole other slice for someone here. Just, creating more food, just Jesus with the fishes and the loaves. I think about, challenging society with our words, and that's sort of where we're going to go today. And I also think about our femme and trans sisters challenging our ideas about the embodied feminine spirit that we are just constantly challenging with our bodies. So we're going to challenge a little bit of time travel today. And I'm going to bring some quotes from some voices of the past and voices of the present. And hopefully we'll be able to sort of create a collective voice that talks towards the future. We have a multi-generational panel here. So I'm going to put a quote out from a historical figure. And we're going to respond to that. And I may have a certain question for some of you or one of you, but honestly, it's just when the spirit moves, speak. And we're going to let some very lucky audience members observe the kinds of conversations that I've had with most of you at some point, and I'm very excited to share. Does that sound good? Okay, great. So we're going to start. I am going to go a little linear with this time here. I'm going to start with Miss Ida B. Wells. Here's the quote. The people must know before they can act, and there is no educator to compare with the press. Now, I'll read it again. The people must know before they can act, and there is no educator to compare with the press. Yeah, I'm already coming to you, Reverend Liz. Like, I'm already coming, because I was like, you are that's your world. And I would love to hear what that brings up for you.
Well, I'm glad you came to me. I first have to apologize to all of you because I just realized I don't have any battery on my phone. So I'm getting ready to disappear on you. And that's my bad. But let me quickly say that in this world of fake news, trying to get truth is really difficult. And so the media, which when I was in the media, the whole idea was that truth was possible. You guys are going to have to tell me what happened to truth. I believe I deal with truth, but I think now we're caught up in something else. And so people keep thinking that, well, there is no truth and everything is relevant. And I think that's a very dangerous a place to be. So God bless Miss Ida B. Wells, because she speaks of a truth that the press, represents, right? Educator. Yeah. We're going to teach you what's going on. That no longer seems to be the case. So I can't wait to hear what you young ladies say as I charge my battery and try to get back on. How about that?
I love that. She left us with a question.
I feel like, Sasha, I'm in the same place. I'm going to need to charge my... This is what happens when Black ladies get together. I'm going to talk real quick, and then I'm going to go charge my phone. Is that cool?
Love that. Great. Yep. Let's hear it.
I heard it. Okay. I'm going to respond from a place of like embodiment. I know that's a word right now, but like you have to know it, like not know it even in your mind, but you have to live it. Like you have to know before you can act on something. And to me, I think the disillusion of the press is kind of that thing of like, we're not looking for a savior anymore. We're not looking for one person or one news outlet or someone else to lead us into the promised land. Like my work is about everything is in your body, and you listen not just with what's between your ears. Like the more we as Black women, which we know how to do, like listen from our gut, from our womb, from like our whole body, our spines. You listen and and then you act from there, because if truth as it's been handed to us in the form of the press is falling away, we then become the collective press. Like our bodies are the truth. And it's scary, but maybe it's also like, we can't wait for someone to give us what's truth anymore.
That makes me think of like, so it says there's no better educator than the press. And maybe the challenge here is that the press has the potential to be a great educator. This is Ida B. Wells, who's, she's basically writing about lynchings. She lived from 1862 to 1931, and she lived all over the place because she ran from, terrorists who did not want her to print the truth about the lynchings that were happening in the South and the rate at which they were happening. It makes me think a lot about people using their phones to what has brought us to this movement today is that we all witnessed a murder, of George Floyd on a phone, of Ahmaud Arbery on a phone. Like, we just see, we have the ability. So either the press is changing,
yes,
or, but like what you said, like it has, then I think, you have to know. And a lot of people think they know. They think they know a thing. And the idea of the education that you have to take in something. And I don't know. I love that she did leave us with that question, because it does make me feel like it's a way to push away a thing, to decide that like there's an internal knowing of a thing. And then there's also like pushing away a truth that you don't want to see. And that the press maybe is at its best when it's actually, I don't know. But yeah, young ladies, talk about it. Talk about what does it feel like growing up with today's press? Like press.
I'll go listen to that song now. No, I mean, I love the way that we can just get on our phones and see videos and pictures and images of things that are happening right now. I mean, even in our everyday life, we can. I remember our friend like stopped and we saw a Black man and the police just like getting stopped by a police officer, and we pulled out our phone because we have the opportunity now to like be part of that press conversation. So I think it's so impactful, at least in our own lives. But like at the same time, my problem is not everyone's looking. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone's having these conversations or even looking at those accounts that have the real tea. And we'll be like, oh well, girl, do you know what happened here? And there's nothing. There's not that acknowledgement of yes, things are happening in a larger conversation on an everyday basis. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
Reverend Liz, you're back.
I'm back. And I'm plugged in. So I'm listening to every word. Go right ahead.
Jordan, yeah.
I love it. I was just going to add on to your point, Sika. I think on the flip side of that, I think we have people jumping too fast because everyone wants to be on the gossip. Everyone wants to have the tea, like you mentioned. Everyone wants to have the it story. And I was watching, what was that thing on Netflix? The Social
Network?
Not social. Yeah, the Social Network. Basically, they were talking about how misinformation is fed to us. Like, I know where I am politically, morally, and I find myself often thinking, like, why don't the people on the other side see this? Like, why don't they get this? And they don't. Like, they physically don't, because they're seeing these news outlets or whatever it may be, these people jumping to the gossip, jumping to whatever, and that's being fed to them. So it's like this vicious cycle. So I totally agree with what y'all are saying. I personally think it's more dangerous than anything. And that's why I try to surround myself with people who will speak truth, who will speak facts, because you can't rely on what you're seeing on Twitter all the time.
Yeah.
To that point, I wanted to say also, like, I think it's so much easier for people to get their information in these sound bites. Like, what you're thinking about Ida B. Wells, she was writing and people were reading. That was a time when people were still reading and seeking information. We're not in an era where people are doing their own research and finding the news outlets that are going to speak the truth that they're seeing in their day-to-day lives. They're just looking at the scrolling information at the bottom of CNN and running off into the day. Like, are people sitting down and reading publications? Are we even reading what reputable publications are putting out? That's why the newspaper industry is struggling. That's why print publications are struggling, is because people aren't reading. They're taking the information that's the easiest to digest. Like, it's almost like the press over the course of years has been dumbing down the masses, and now people's attention spans, they can't take in an entire article with all the facts and all the research. They don't have the time, the bandwidth to go online and go through all the articles necessary. So I think it really is important, like Tanya was saying, for people to start with what they know of their world. Like, what I see in my day-to-day, I see the news stories that are playing out. Those things are also, in some ways, I could see how a Breonna Taylor situation could happen, because I see these things happening in my world just on a day-to-day basis. And so it's really important for me to listen to that intuition that's telling me firsthand, this is what I see. And then now, since this is what I see, when I'm hearing all of these fake news, around me, I can say, well, okay, that's not what's really happening. I know that there's someone that's reporting what I'm seeing in the world. Let me do my research and let me take the time so that I can be well informed. And I think Ida B. Wells is talking about a time when she had the privilege of reporting, about what was really happening in the community. And there was a certain, I think, seriousness to the press back in her day. But now everyone's kind of a journalist. So it's like everybody has an opinion, everybody has a phone, and it's not to say that people shouldn't be able to show their lens of what's happening in their corner of the world, but it is to say that, like, how do you filter through that? You don't even have the attention span to discern what's real and what's fake, and I think so we have to, I think in this generation, and I say this to my students all the time, it's like you have to want the truth, right? You have to have a thirst for the truth in order for you to do the research required to find the truth. And if you don't have that thirst, you're always going to fall for the kind of okey doke, poor press that is going to be available to you, like, readily and accessible.
Can I just argue really quickly that while there is a lot of okey doke and there's a lot of poor press, there are good, strong, powerful, truthful journalists, Black and white and Asian and Hispanic and Latinx right now. So I just really get scared that we say, well, and this is not what you said at all, but I get scared when we think that we just can cancel out the whole media because there's so much lies. There are good, credible journalists, and you can find truth, but you're absolutely right. You have to work for it. But to go with the social media thing is real dangerous because there's just a lot of stuff out there. There's just a lot of junk out there. And
it's a tricky balance.
It really is a tricky balance, but it is about doing your own homework. It really is. That's a part of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to move forward a little bit in history. We're going to move to one of my favorites. I'll just read the quote. Black women have had to develop a larger vision of our society than perhaps any other group. They have had to understand white men, white women, and Black men. And they have had to understand themselves. When Black women win victories, it is a boost for virtually every segment of society. This is Angela Davis. I'm going to let it sit. And we're kind of moving into, we've mentioned a little bit about the word decolonization came up, which I think, is a big, large word for anyone who maybe hasn't encountered it before, about really questioning and deconstructing the ideas you have about the way society works and who people are and how they fit in it, based on the experience you've had and been given. And so I think on every level, it's that thing where, everybody's racist, right? We all grew up in this racist society. So we all have to deal with things that we have embodied ourselves, whether that was, I don't like my hair, as a Black woman saying, I'm going to do this thing to it, or I don't like my skin, or I don't like my body, or I don't like my lips, or because those ideas, we all grow up in those ideas, and it just depends on the body that you find yourself in, how it comes out. And I think that when you grow up in a body like that, and I would totally extend this to our LGBTQ queer community, where you exist in a body that doesn't fit in the things that you've been told work. So that's how I want to frame that a little bit, about the fact that when those bodies fight for liberation, when Black women win victories, it is a boost for virtually every segment of society.
I mean, I can jump in.
Do it.
Yeah.
Let's double dutch.
Let's double dutch. Me and Dionne's been double dutching. We literally been double.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's another liberation practice. Double dutch. Okay. Oh, so I have to take a deep breath because I feel like so much of this healing work for me and this decolonization work is breaking down the idea that the lie that I'm an individual and that all my wins are individually won. And I think what Black women know is that what we know. Like, it doesn't mean we always practice it because we get swept up in capitalism and patriarchy, all the things. But what we know in our bones is that every step is a step for humanity. Like, every step that we make. So that's why we know how to lead the way, because we deep down don't buy into the lie that we are individually out here trying to get free by myself. Like, when I say I'm trying to get free, I'm not saying Tanya's trying to get free. Like, when I say I'm like, if this white man knew that when I say I'm actually talking about you too. Like, you're even watching the Meghan Markle and whatever you like, the whole interview with Oprah. And I just had this thought of like, there was just this depiction of when a Black woman speaks the truth, ultimately that white man is going to get more free, that like he's going to get way more, like, you just don't understand when you give up your privilege, and it's not even giving up, when you give up the lie, when you take off the handcuffs of the lie and you allow Black women not ride them to freedom, but when you stand alongside them, support them, and say, yes, they're speaking the truth. Yes, what they say is real. Yes, what they feel is real. You get free. Like, we all get free. And that's just what Black women know. Like, we know that. And for me, my healing is remembering that, because so much of my torment or my struggle or my what's not right in my spirit comes from me buying into the lie that I'm this individual that's just trying to get through, and I'm not.
Yes, and amen.
Amen.
Did anyone else want to share a little bit? Or I'll read another thing that I really like. I'm going to read another thing. This is like a tag on. I often like to talk about, this is also Angela Davis, and this is a more current quote. I often like to talk about feminism not as something that adheres to bodies, not as something grounded in gendered bodies, but as an approach, as a way of conceptualizing, as a methodology, as a guide to strategies for struggle. That means feminism doesn't belong to anyone in particular. I'd be curious to hear from any of you, maybe, and we'll keep moving through. You definitely don't have to respond to everything. This is, a talk, chat. But what does feminism mean to you as you live it? There's a lot of ideas about what it is, but as a way, what does she say? She calls it as an approach, maybe a practice.
Yeah, I've just been quiet because I'm like, whoa, like, this is heavy. And even, I love what you said, every word of what both of you said, but specifically, Tanya, when you said like how we know we don't always practice it, I think that's something that I've really had to reckon with really hard over the past year. But I'm going to take it back to us being students at a primarily white institution. Sika and I come from white spaces, white neighborhoods. I think feminism to me it's two parts. I think the first part is uplifting women, just period, all types of women. And then the second part is standing by it. Because I think what I see a lot of times with feminism, and Sika and I just did a podcast episode on this called like, is your feminism intersectional enough? I think the women in our spaces, the non-Black women, tend to say, oh, girl power. Oh, girls supporting girls. But then when it comes to Black women being harassed in the workplace, it's, oh, well, I just didn't want to say anything because, that's my boss and I'm up for this promotion. Or it's the, oh my gosh, your braids, like, let me feel like, it's like they're supporting girls until it's inconvenient for them. And so feminism to me is whether it's convenient for you or not, period, you're standing by me and you're sticking to it. So I'm totally blanking on who said it, but I watched this talk the other day, and this woman was saying like, whiteness is like a bank and you just swipe and it'll always replenish itself, but you can just keep swiping. And I'm like, I wish I had that bank, period. I wish I had money like that. But two, I can't just swipe. Every time I'm stepping out on the limb for white women, it's like a part of me is like, oh, why can't they do the same for me? And so I really, really want us all, and I know everyone here is doing this, but generally speaking, I just really want women to stick by what they say they're going to do. When you say you're going to support me, when you say girls have each other's backs, I want you to actually have that when it's inconvenient for you.
I just had a thought when you were saying that. For me, I'm all about like humanity winning as a whole, right? Like, yes, I'm a Black woman, and obviously I come from a Black woman. My sisters are Black women. That is the community that I have chosen to be around me, to uplift me, because I know that Black women know how to be cheerleaders. I know how they know how to uplift other people. We as Black women, we've been taking care of other people that's what we've been doing. Like, that's literally what we've been doing. We've been taking care of white people. We've been taking care of our families. We've been taking care of everyone. So, you know, there's a certain pressure that I feel to always have that weight on my shoulder, right? Like, I have to take care. I have to be strong. And for me, there are times when I have to put that down and say, what is going to be best for me, that is going to be best for the person standing directly next to me, not for this collective whole, but taking care of my immediate community right here, right? And that will become an extension. It starts to like grow out for me. I feel like too often the onus is falling on us to fix the ills of the world. And while I think that we have the capacity to do it, I feel like too often I watch Black women succumb to that pressure and lose themselves in that pressure to be the strongest person in the space. This strong Black woman trope that we throw out doesn't make space for women, Black women, to be soft and vulnerable and afraid and not together. I don't always want to feel like I have to be together, because sometimes I'm not together, and I should be allowed to be not together. So I think there, as much as I know that I have the capacity to heal spaces, because I'm a nurturer in my DNA. It's in the DNA of the Black woman, because that's literally what we've been called to do in this land specifically, right? I also want Black women to feel like, sis, if you need to put that down and put that away so that you can take some space for yourself, right? That there's a lot of power in that too. There's a lot of power in saying, you know what, that is yours. You own that. That's why right now, when like I'm seeing so many, you know, in the white space so much, you know, people are like, well, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? Tell me, Black friend, what am I supposed to do? It's like, sis, I can't be the keynote speaker to white trauma. Like, that's not mine to take on. Like, that's what I've been doing. Like, Black women have been taking care of white people forever. Now is the time to be like, I have a community. I love you. Go with God. I hope you find your keynote speaker, sis. But I have to actually come over here and do my healing work in my community, in the space that feeds me.
Absolutely.
And I pray that you figure that out and get back to me. Let me know how that goes. But I know that pressure to be the healing balm doesn't allow us sometimes to just be in a bathtub in tears. That's okay. And I want women to know that that's like okay to take that space. If you gotta drop it off, say, hubby, I'm sorry, I can't feed the kids. You're gonna have to do that. I gotta go over here and get in this bathtub and soak my feet. Sis is tired. You know, sis is tired of being the glue that's holding this whole thing together, right? Like, and I feel like what that teaches people is like, I have a boundary and you have to learn how to treat me and treat this gift that I'm giving into the world, right? So this is boundary. I will get back to you, but right now you should be equipped with the same information that I have, right? I have done my work. I'm hoping that by telling people hey, you need to let me set this boundary for you. Let me set this perimeter around me. That they will say, okay, I need to learn from this Black woman how, because she's not going to do it for me all the time. She's not going to put this thing together for me all the time. So let me see how she's doing it, so that when she says, okay, I'm going to soak my feet now, thank you, I know what I need to do. But if we always are picking it up, if we're always picking it up, we don't give people the opportunity to learn how to pick it up themselves. And I think that other people that are outside of this Black woman community really need to learn how to pick it up themselves, because we've been doing a lot of heavy lifting. And quite frankly, people need to learn how to pick it up and figure it out. And the only way for them to figure it out is if we put it down at their feet and be like, I got something else to do. Figure that out.
I love that. I want to let you guys know we're going to go over, since we started a little late. If anyone has a hard out at 5, it is 5, but we're probably going to do another 10 to 15 at least. And I, now having said that, want to know, I mean, Reverend Liz, like you are a mother among us as well, and I know this probably resonates with Tanya. And I just hear the picking them up and put it up. Yes.
I'm like, amen. I wish you had been there when I was your age. You know what I'm saying? Because you could have saved me a lot of stress. Years and years and years and years and years. Yeah. So what you speak is so true that I am just, my ears are ringing and my heart is ringing with what you speak. And I just want to remind all of us that when the women's movement started way back in the 60s, burning bras, whatever, Black women weren't a part of that. That wasn't our issue. We already worked. We already controlled the household. We already had issue. You know, we were doing what we were doing, not by choice, but just by who we were and where we were. And so then this whole kind of thing started from the suburbs, and there was tension because, well, why won't you join us? Well, you don't get it. I am this. This is already reality. So that tension has been occupying forever. And when we talk about feminism now, what you guys are saying, it's taken all of this time to get to this truth, because it wasn't our narrative. We were asked to be a part of somebody else's narrative. And so I just love what you're saying, because it's it could have saved my life. I am one of those women that you're talking about who has carried the world. And I'm just one of hundreds of thousands of Black women, my generation, who were the first and the only and the whatever and the whatever. And so I fixed myself and best I could. Then I got to go out here and fix you. And you still in 2021 are asking me what the problem is? Oh, hell no. I'm through. I've done it. So thank you, my sister. Thank you, my daughter, because you can save a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of sisters, a lot of heartache with that truth. You don't have to carry all this. That was never ours to do. Part of our problem is we've been carrying it out there and have not carried our own pain and taken care of our own needs. So I salute you and I thank you for that. Absolutely.
Whoa, that's so powerful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I just hear like setting the example, right? Like the way we treat ourselves. Watch me heal. Watch me take care of myself. And then you learn from that. Not I will take care of you better than I take care of me. And just asking. I want to get to.
Can I say something real quick, Sasha?
Go for it,
just real quick. Yeah. Just from from a young mother's perspective, because. Oh, it's so hard to model everything that I just want to acknowledge how hard it is to model everything that Dionne is saying, and how imperative it is to model what Dionne is saying. And so for me, if all of my energy is to model that in my home with my children, it's enough. That's the other thing, is like, we're just, as Black women, to be exceptional and to do like to take that mantle off. And I'm talking to myself here, to be like the work of a lifetime, to be able to set boundaries and to say, when I heal, the rest of the world heals. When a Black body heals, when a Black woman heals, the rest of the world heals. Like, to just be able to feel that and process that, that's enough. Like, that's enough. And I have to keep telling myself that, because there's that extra exceptional tag that Black women have on their back that keeps us from doing that work that is so important. Like, that work Dionne's talking about is the work. Like, that is liberation work. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip a little to, actually, we have a message that was gifted to us by Nick Walker's wife, Sarah. I believe he's gonna come back for a bit and read this to us.
Yeah, I will.
You're not allowed to say anything except what Sarah wrote.
I will not.
You just did.
No, yeah.
So we're talking a lot about space, and our young ladies who are in school, you started talking about this too. And Sarah says a very interesting thing about people are like, take up space. And she talks about this a bit in this question as she poses it. And I think it's gonna be a little bit of free. So let's just get into it.
Yep. I'm Sarah Joyce's husband, and I'm here to read this question. So this is what Sarah wrote. I'm just getting out of a class taught by a teacher who is Native American and Jewish. And since the beginning of the semester, I have noticed that she tends to color what I say with an assumption that I'm confused. Most of my white teachers tend to color what I say with an assumption that I am tense or angry. This happens to me in most spaces. It happens to me with men from all backgrounds, including Black men. It happens to me with people of all backgrounds. It, of course, makes it a challenge to take up space without fear or hesitancy, and in this sometimes performative take-up space cis culture that a lot of non-Black women are projecting but not truly practicing, taking up space becomes extra confusing. This is something we have been used to our entire lives, so letting go of what others may think of us has become a skill we have been forced to practice. And by practice, I mean in the yogi guru sort of, I need to get to unassisted headstand level way. It takes time and serious strengthening. My question is, what does that look like for each of you? What is involved in your practice? How are you honest with yourselves while also being gentle with yourselves? What does your reset look like? I'm looking to increase the tools in my toolbox for this one.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye, Nick. Thank you for sharing and reading. We wanted to have Sarah with us, but she's working very hard in school. So does anyone have any initial thoughts? I'm very curious. I saw some heads nodding about, I'm very curious, like Sika and Jordan. What happened, Dionne? What's going on?
My internet kicked me off. It could hear my thoughts, and it was like, we're not ready for you yet. I didn't know, like, I hear you say, and you're not going to say that. So formulate this a little bit better, and then we'll get back to you.
Shut her down. Sarah started out with the educator sort of perspective, and I wonder, how do you deal with these things, like when you're in those classes and in that space?
Oof. I was like, Jordan, do you want to go? No, I'm just kidding. I think that is something that I think all of us deal with, like at a PWI especially, because again, we are the only person in the classroom. You look to your right, you look to your left, and you're just the only Black person, the only woman, whatever that may be. And I think in my experience, I don't know if I can do this really in class, but in my extracurriculars, I've gotten more comfortable just saying no. I think back to just experiences this semester. And funny enough, someone asked me, Dionne, to your point about like being that had to be the educator, having to be the person to kind of bring someone through things that they really should know themselves. Someone was like, oh, can you talk to me about tokenism? I was like, why are you asking me to talk to you about tokenism? And I said no. And that was and it wasn't like a big deal, but it was just a first step in saying, I don't have to be that person for you when all of the resources exist. But in class, it's a different situation because I always feel like I don't have the power there. But I feel like just reminding myself that, yes, I do. Like these are professors, these are human beings too, who should be doing learning on their own as well, who should be doing healing on their own as well. Is something that I've been trying to learn a little bit more. But Jordan, I'm curious to see what you'll say to this one. So it's a hard question, for real.
Yeah, I'm still thinking. I mean, I definitely appreciate that question because I think the reason I was nodding so much is I was like, oh, so I'm not crazy. Like, this is a thing that's happening everywhere. And while it's comforting, isn't that also like insanely devastating that that experience is that universal? Like, I'm glad there's camaraderie there, but I'm also like really sad that we were all nodding, knowing exactly what she was talking about. I think I've never had a professor that looks like me. So or a teacher or anything like, so I guess I haven't challenged the way I've thought about it until I got to college. But before that, you know, we talked about slavery in history in high school. Everyone's looking at me or Jordan, can you share? I'm like, y'all created the problem. Why can't you answer? Like, I don't know. Or they're like, can you help us? Sheikah and I's favorite phrase is Google is free, because I don't know why it even, like, why is this even a question towards me? But I think she specifically asked like ways that we deal with it. I have never leaned into the power of Black women friendships more than I have over the past couple of years. I mean, it has elevated me to a level beyond, and I know all of you are very familiar with that, but there's just something so powerful because yes, the Black community is strong and beautiful and wonderful, but I'm so happy she brought up Black men because often I don't know, we don't have time to go there, but often I'm like, hold on.
We do.
We do? Okay. Well, I'm just like confused, I guess, because if we have this camaraderie, we're bro sis siblings, like you say, you know, we are. Why are you laughing when your white friend makes a joke that's not funny and that's very damaging to me? And then you had to DM me later and say, oh, well, you know, I was just trying to just fit in, whatever. Like, it just, Sika and I sometimes say Black men are the weakest link. And we don't mean all Black men, but pretty much if you feel offended by that statement, then you're part of the problem. And so I think that's why I really lean into the friendships that I have and like them telling me you're doing too much, you're taking on too much, or I've also tried to be comfortable with silence more. I feel like a lot of times when people of superiority who are non-Black ask me to do something, I used to be like very uncomfortable and I would just be like, oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can help out. But being like, no, like I don't think that's for me. And like, it used to be very uncomfortable, but teaching myself that's what everyone else does. So why can't we do it? You know? So I don't know if that's helpful, but as you can see, I'm also working through it at the same time.
Does anybody else have thoughts on how you sort of are working through? Yes, go for it. There she is. She's back.
The internet was live. I feel like addressing microaggressions in any space are opportunities, are teachable opportunities for the person that you're addressing, but an empowering opportunity for yourself. I believe that when we have to get comfortable with leaving things with people, like, because people will pass you plates of poison. They will pass you opportunities to take in a toxic comment, a toxic idea about yourself, a minimizing of you, and you have a choice in that moment. You can either take the plate of poison or you can leave that plate of poison right in their hands. And I believe when you address those type of microaggressions, and you know, I like to practice them. So like when somebody says something to me, because it takes time to build up, because we're not used to doing that. You know, as Black women, as women in general, we've been taught to like be nice, play nice, stay in your lanes, play your part. Like, you know, don't speak out of turn. Like, these are the things that we're taught from when we're small. Don't speak too loud. That's why I love the name of your podcast. It's like, that was my thing growing up. It's like, you're too loud. And it's like, I got something to say. That's why I'm loud. You know, but I feel like so frequently people say things and we're not accustomed to responding in a way that leaves the poison with them. And so we either don't say anything or we kind of like take it in and we don't stand up for ourselves in those moments. And I really feel like I practiced that. So throughout the course of the years, whenever I felt like I didn't address something the way that would have empowered me, but taught the other person at the same time, I practiced that in the mirror. I'm like, and they said this, and what I should have said in that moment is this. So that the next time it comes up, I have a practice. I'm an actor, so I'm like, I'm gonna practice my lines. so that the next time somebody brings this to my table, I have a very concise, respectful response that leaves the poison with them. And we have to be comfortable with cracking people's faces, like, you know, because people are constantly coming for you, right? Like these little teeny microaggressions, these tiny cuts all the time. That is not your issue. That is somebody that is trying to insecure about whatever your status is and wants to try to knock you down a peg. People are always trying to knock Black women down a peg or two, especially when they're in higher education, professional spaces, when they have titles. They're always coming for you like, oh, she thinks too highly of herself. Let me knock her down a peg. That's been happening throughout history, right? So now we're in a time, and I can see it with my mom. My mom is like, I feel like she tells me, like, you have empowered me so much because you don't let people disrespect you. That wasn't like just how I came into the world. I had to practice that. I had to say, you know what, I really did not. That person took something from me in that moment. And I did not stand up for myself in a way that is not like getting all out of my character, but is speaking to my truth, to who I am. My shoulders are back. I'm in this world. I belong here. I take up my space. Like, that is, for me, that's a part of being free. Is being free to correct someone when they have you all the way messed up. Like, you don't know who I am. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what my lineage is. You don't know what my legacy is. I don't come from that. You don't talk to me like that. And there's a way in which to do it where it's like, I'm just leaving this with you and let there be silence. I don't have to explain myself. No is its own sentence. No, period. I don't have to explain why I'm telling you that's inappropriate. Don't talk to me like that. It's, you know, like, you have to practice that. But it's a teachable moment. It's another opportunity to set a boundary and to leave someone with a thought. This is a thought for you, for how you're talking to me right now, you know, and hopefully the next time you approach someone, you will think better of it. But I don't have to actually do more than stand up for myself. And that, to me, is so empowering. It's just leaving people with their own poison. That's not for me. I don't go to that school.
Sasha, sorry, Dee. I think I couldn't hear that we were cutting in and out, but I wanted to, like, yes and amen you, because, you know, I'm like a lover of practice, obviously, like teaching meditation and yoga. So, like, listening to Jordan and also listening to Dionne, like, that pause, just technically in terms of your nervous system, like, that pause cannot be a holding of our breath. Because if we take the pause and you're still triggering your nervous system and getting yourself into this panic state, but it's pause and breathe. Like, literally take that pause to, like, the difference that a full inhale and exhale will do in that space. That white person will be like, oh my God, that Black person is breathing in my presence, like fully filling up their lungs and breathing. Like, what the heck is happening? Because they're used to us holding our breath. And so even if you pause, if there's no breath there, the breathing is what actually creates the distance. Like, back up. That's the space. And then I was, like, listening to you, Dionne, and a practice that someone shared with me was, when you have a microaggression that comes at you, all you have to say is, what did you mean by that? That's it. And then that's the plate. That's like, what did you mean when you said that? Boom, you just put it, and then breathe. Like, ask them what they meant, and then freaking plant your feet and breathe, because they're going to start, like, fluttering and kicking out all this stuff. And you got to your practice is to breathe for whatever that, oh no, but I didn't, all the stuff that starts coming out after that question of what did you mean by that? Our practice is to stand and breathe. That's it. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I've been trying to get clear about, I'll say this shortly. I've been trying to get clear about what's for my healing, what's for your healing, and what's for the whole space. And what do I want to serve at that moment, and knowing that that is my choice. So the way that you respond to a microaggression, there's different ways to respond. And if you can be clear about, you know what, in this moment, what I need is to breathe for me, and I'm not going to respond, and I don't need to take up space. Like, it can't be forced to take up more space. My space is this is what I want. I'm good. Or maybe it is to affect, a discussion and maybe engage, and you're prepared for that. But I think everything you're saying, that breath gives you the space to decide, how do I want to do this? And if I can get really clear about my practices that are for me, because the way I practice to heal myself is not the same as the way I might practice if I plan on engaging with you to make our relationship better, or if I plan on creating more space for somebody next to me and healing that space. So it's a practice, because I don't know how to do it all the time, but it's been a clarifying thought for me of like, I have the choice of how to engage with this right now. And if it's for me and my healing and this just for me, then that is a revolutionary work that I'm about to do. And it's none of your business. I want to invite Nikki Walks back on. We're going to start to close out here.
Don't do that. No, please.
It's been so beautiful. And the way that I have sort of framed this again is that, I love the way that it's played out. Watch the healing, watch the conversation, watching the way you women have held space for each other. And one thing I admire and do love about Nick as a friend and a human is that I think he's such a great example of a Black man who is listening and who responds and who is engaged and is full of love. And so I thought it would be lovely upon him, sort of listening and backing out of this conversation I wanted to invite you to either ask a question, talk about something you've heard, comments, but just show the people how it's done, and don't embarrass me, Nick.
Listen, you got my friend Sasha, you got Dionne, you got my mama, and you also, between you and Dionne, y'all taught me how to dance. So I'm trying to just, figure this out, really walk the line and not embarrass myself in front of Tanya and Jordan and Sika. I'm not going to do that. I'm still processing a lot of everything you're saying. I can't begin to tell, or maybe it's not even my place to tell you how powerful it is to just have you all in a room talking. Good Lord. And I know that people watching are probably feeling the same. And you are all incredible people. You are all incredible women. You are all incredible Black women. Your very existence is breaking boundaries and moving the needle forward. And I guess if I did have a question, it is about that, because everything that you've talked about, everything that you're talking about, the setting of boundaries, the breath, the Black men as the weakest link had me rolling, and is also true. And I will say that as living proof, hashtag daddy issues, but it's the truth. I mean, here's my question. Everything you're talking about has such a beautiful essence of selflessness. Even the boundaries that you're talking about setting are boundaries for yourself, so you can keep your sanity and soul in a world that is constantly trying to take it away from you. That is selflessness. That is the awareness of self, right? That is it's inherent. It's mindfulness. So I guess my question is something you've kind of already answered, but I do want to hear a little bit more about it. In a world that is not built on selflessness, in a world that is, in fact, and Sasha, we've talked about this multiple times, in a world that is, I believe, in fact, to its detriment, mostly built on competition, right? Because that's a lot of what you're talking, what I heard, the crabs in a barrel mentality, the idea that there can only be one of us on top, and anybody who would stand in your way is a problem. The caste system. How do you continue to shine the light of selflessness in a selfish world? That's my question. Please.
I would like to
go. If I see you trying to unmute, Dionne, yeah, go for it.
There was one word that you used, and you said top. And I think for me, it's to determine what the top actually is. What is top? Because we live in a capitalist society that has determined that the top is who has the most money, who's the most successful. And if that's what you're basing your top on, then, well, you might not make it there. But when you operate, I believe in God. So I'm working in kingdom, right? So like because I'm operating from a kingdom standpoint, my top is community. My top is cooperation with people in my community. My top is uplifting other people. And so for me, the way that I change that narrative is to change the narrative, right? Like I don't operate in a world where my successes are determined by how much money I'm making. I'm operating in a space where my success is how good my relationships are with other people. Do I have people that love me and that I love around me? Do I have people that will support me in my endeavors so that even if I'm not making the most amount of
money? She was speaking that truth. That truth
it
comes
said,
out. And
StreamYard said it's too much truth.
We'll let Dionne hop back in. Did anybody else have like a thought or want to speak to that a bit? Yes.
I hope she comes back, but can I just say that from listening to all of you and trying to answer Nick, as a minister, I've always been trying to figure out who God is, what God is in my world so that I can pass that on. And God has always been rules and always been hierarchies and always been this one thing. And that's not who God is for me now. God is relationship. And so that was just said. And so and relationship is lifted up. And that's God. You're lifting up God. But what I want to say, so Nick, that's kind of my answer to you. And every time you say you got issues, I get scared because they always blame the mother for the issues. And I just want to know that you on your own with those issues because I think I did a pretty good job. Can I just say that for the record?
I said hashtag daddy issues. I did not say mommy issues.
Okay. But anyway, I just want to just make that quick disclaimer. And then I've got to say, what I've learned from these beautiful young women today, and I think that God has been trying to tell me all along, is that I am enough. I am more than enough. And I want to say that to all of you. And I think that's what we are, because when you are enough, then you do give. It's just who you are. It's not forced or it's not contrived and it's not competition. Your act is big enough for the room and more.
Yeah.
And that should be enough for the world. But if it's not enough, then it's the world's problem. It's not yours. So that would be my sermon after hearing all of you, that you are so much enough. And I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this conversation because it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for the sermon. My. Dionne, did you? It got too hot. I'm afraid you know what it is too. I think it's just started raining and storming in New York. Like Dionne,
it is. That's really what it is. But the devil said, "I heard God, get out of here." That's okay because I'm back. So yeah. Okay. Listen.
I really did. Picked it right back up though because the spirit moves. The spirit moves.
I cannot be held down.
Anybody else? I think what you said, yeah, just like the way we think about it, what's top? Like how do we live in this competitive society? But I think, and Nick and I have had this conversation, it's why I wanted to talk to all of you as women today. It's just, I think that women, we were starting to talk about competition and Nick was rolling out a lot of like things. And I said, all of those are very masculine, patriarchal ideas. The way that you're talking about your understanding of the world. And I think what we've seen from each of you is just different ways of thinking. They're rounder ways of thinking. Sometimes they're softer ways of thinking, and they are but they are also very strong ways of thinking. It's a way of thinking that doesn't, equate soft as not found in strong. And that these are the ways that it's just a way more circular, more inclusive. And I'm hoping that that's the way that we are headed. I want to, if anybody has anything burning on their heart, I'd love to open the space for you to share. And then after that, I'm going to close us out with some forward-looking quotes.
I'll just say from a young perspective, because I almost feel bad. We've just been listening so much. But Reverend Liz, specifically what she said just meant so much to me because I think what Sika and I always try to do is just reject exceptionalism. Like we, as Black women specifically, are rarely given the opportunity to just be ordinary. And ironically, our ordinary is exceptional. And so I just think rejecting that like hourly, because I constantly have to remind myself, is so important. And I love this quote. I always mess up the quote, so I'm not even gonna try to say it, but the essence of it is, you know, flowers can just bloom where they're planted. They don't have to step on another flower to grow. They don't have to block someone else's sunshine or rain. They can just grow. And that's rejecting exceptionalism and just being enough. So just thank you so much, everyone, for your amazing words.
Thank you.
Jordan, I don't even know. I've heard that quote, but I have to say I experienced that today. I know, Sasha, we could stay on here for hours, but I experienced that today in the shower. I have like a plant, and because it's what you said is so much truth. It is hourly. It's like minute to minute having to remind myself I don't have to be exceptional at doing everything that I do. And I'm in the shower and I looked at the plant and all the leaves, and I just thought to myself, no one leaf is trying to like out-leaf another leaf. No one leaf is trying to be the best leaf on. They are being, they're enough. Like that plant is enough, and it is beautiful, and it's enough. And just that imagery, that exact thing you said, I experienced it today, being like, why am I trying to be the best leaf on this vine? Like I can just be the leaf on the vine. That's good enough. That's what God made me to be. Yeah.
I can just leaf. I can
leaf. Like, let me just be my leaf. Yeah.
Oh, ladies, thank you so much. This has been so beautiful and so special, and not enough time. It never is. Like I seriously, we talk for hours like this. But I hope that this has been some time to share and be an example and feed each other, and let that be nourishing to others, rather than coming into spaces trying to fix stuff, you know, because that's what we're used to being asked to do. We're also very good at it, but I hear they're starting to charge, ladies. I hear there's starting to be speakers' fees and consulting rates, and I just love it. I want to leave us with this thought. We're pushing towards the future. We've talked a lot about the way we think, the structures, and how that is, and as Black women having to reimagine things and really see things that are not there, right? Like, and throughout history, that's been the story of revolutionaries and people who have changed society for the better, is the ability to see something that's not there. I want to read this quote from a favorite of, I know, Tanya's, and hopefully soon to be many of yours, Adrienne Marie Brown. She writes in Emergent Strategy, Shaping Change, Shaping Worlds, quote, "We are in an imagination battle. Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and Renisha McBride and so many others are dead because in some white imagination, they were dangerous. And that imagination is so respected that those who kill based on an imagined, radicalized fear of Black people are rarely held accountable. Imagination has people thinking they can go from being poor to a millionaire as a part of a shared American dream. Imagination turns brown bombers into terrorists and white bombers into mentally ill victims. Imagination gives us borders, gives us superiority, gives us race as an indicator of ability. I often feel I am trapped inside someone else's capability. I often feel I am trapped inside someone else's imagination, and I must engage my own imagination in order to break free." And later she writes, in Pleasure Activism, the politics of feeling good, our radical imagination is a tool for decolonization, for reclaiming our right to shape our lived reality. I just see all of that so much as the work present in each of you today. And I thank you for sharing just a snippet of the healing work you're doing. And I hope that it is healing to many others. And I'm so glad that we were able to turn this chaotic space and fight through Wi-Fi and fight through storms and fight through battery power and get some truth out here. And it's just been so lovely. Thank you so much for being on the Chaos Twins.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh,
thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
We have a little sign off to do. And we will have all the resources for these ladies. Listen to You're Too Loud, visit So Humanity, check out the work of everyone on this. And these guests will be back. But we're going to do our little outro here.
Yep. So
It's new.
if you, it's new. Do we have a video? Amazing. Listen, we
have a script.
Listen,
are you in the script?
we do have. I'm in the script.
Super.
So here's the deal.
Beyonce wrote it out for you.
Beyonce did write it out. We have a YouTube channel now. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thechaostwins. We also have a Facebook channel now. Our own Facebook, the Broadway world has been so generous to allow us to use theirs, but we also have our own. So we have 2 Facebook pages, facebook.com/thechaostwins.
You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @the_chaos twins. That's @the_chaos twins. Next episode for us is on Wednesday, April 7th with David J. Johns. David J. Johns is Executive Director of the National Black Justice Coalition. He is the former Executive Director of the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for African Americans. So Nick and I are going to go study. Before our next episode, we thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to see you on April 7th. Peace, everyone.
Peace. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.